For most parents, there's no greater joy than watching your child discover new places and connect with new people. But for some families, that experience can be diminished by the simple fact that in some situations, their child seems completely unable to speak.
I mean, with us, he's always been this regular, chatty kid.
Oh, look. I'm touching the floor. Mom! Mom!
What is it, Lee?
There's a squirrel. Come look. You missed it.
He's hilarious.
Everything just seemed normal.
I think it was about a year ago now that we started to notice that there was something going on.
I just thought he was shy. I was a shy kid too. Hey.
It wasn't until about 3 months into kindergarten that we really started to see it.
It just seemed to be different from anything we'd seen in other kids, even the shy ones.
And how are you today, Lee?
It's okay, sweetie. It's hard to watch people meet your child and think, you know, this is who he is. Because inside you're like, no, you're not seeing him. You're not seeing the real Lee. It's just hard.
It took a while, but after speaking to their pediatrician and eventually being referred to an expert, Lee's parents were told he had an anxiety disorder known as selective mutism. Children with selective mutism have no trouble speaking when they're in situations where they feel comfortable, like in the home, with close family members. But in other situations, with other people, they may be entirely unable or very limited in their ability to speak. What's most important to remember is that selective mutism is a constant struggle for these kids. But by structuring situations and changing their own interactions, parents can help change how these situations feel and create an environment more conducive to talking.
I think the biggest leap for me was starting to understand just what it was he was going through, what it was like for him, you know? That was hard.
So what are you two up to today?
Just out for a walk? That maybe we'd hit the park, isn't that right, Lee?
When anyone who he's not 100% comfortable with asks him a question, it just makes him anxious and he gets stuck. It's like he physically can't speak.
And most people's natural, well-meaning reactions only made it worse. They just keep asking questions.
Oh, is that right, Lee? Are you gonna play on the jungle gym?
Which only makes him more anxious. So people try to read his mind.
Nah, you're more of a Swings fan, I'd say.
Or they just stop talking to him altogether.
Am I right? Is Lee more of a Swings fan?
Sure is.
I thought so. So we still on for coffee later?
Yeah, I'll call you. We can talk.
Okay, great.
And without even noticing it, we would answer for him. Which was a really, really hard thing to realize.
In these situations, unbeknownst to his parents, Lee was getting stuck in a vicious cycle. Someone would ask him a question, and he would get anxious and be unable to answer. Then someone else, one of his parents, another adult, or a fellow child would answer for him. And the situation and anxiety would be resolved, all without him saying a word. So his not speaking cycle would be reinforced. The only way to help Lee was to break that cycle.
Whenever he'd be somewhere he'd have a hard time talking, we would take some time, take him aside, and do something that would help him warm up to the situation. It could be anything he likes, building blocks, toy cars. Lee really loves to draw.
So we don't ask him any questions or tell him what to do. We just sort of talk about whatever he's doing and follow his lead. It's kind of like a play-by-play. I see you're drawing a big dog. A big dog with a hat.
And if he does say something, we repeat it back to him so he knows we heard him, but there's no pressure for him to say anything else. You're coloring the dog blue. That's my favorite color.
I know. That's why I picked it.
We thank him and reward him for talking anytime we can.
You know that blue's my favorite color. Thanks for telling me that's why you picked it.
So we warm up at school, before class, or at his grandparents' place. Well, anywhere he needs to, really. We practice at home 5 or 10 minutes every day, just so we can be ready with those skills when we need them.
Slowly, he became a little less anxious and more comfortable.
Once Lee started to look more comfortable and his parents were feeling confident in their warm-up skills, they were advised to slowly encourage him to talk more directly.
So then, after we warmed up a bit, we started introducing some questions.
Questions have to be low pressure, so we can answer them, So, is that the sun? And no yes or no questions, because he'll just shake or nod his head. Or is it a ball?
It's a giant cookie.
Oh, it's a giant cookie. I see that now. It looks just like one, huh? We do have to keep up with the warm-up behaviors, but it's working.
The forced choice questions are the easiest ones for him to answer. Red or blue, or this or that sort of thing. But he's also pretty good with the open-ended questions, which is great because then it just encourages him to talk more.
What color are you looking for, Lee?
If you get stuck, you can always rephrase it as a forced choice question.
I see you pointing, but which one are you looking for? The green or the yellow?
Sometimes you have to wait a full 5 seconds.
Green.
I see, the green one. Here you go.
As Lee became comfortable speaking in new situations when prompted, it was important for his parents to continue to challenge him. This can be accomplished by moving closer to the center of a busy room, or even adding a new person.
When we started adding new people into the mix, the most important thing was really helping them understand. Once people had a sense of what Lee was going through and learned the do's and don'ts of how to interact with him, we were surprised at how willing they were, not just to learn, but to take an active role in his development.
So you start them pretty far away. Kind of ask them to be a fly on the wall. Start simple with those warm-up activities. You're starting a new drawing.
Yeah, I need a new page.
Thanks for telling me that you needed a new page. Then with time, if he's talking, you can move him closer.
And then, eventually, that person can start joining in with some of the same warm-up activities.
I see you're drawing something purple.
It's a pickle.
A purple pickle.
And if everything is going well, they can start asking questions too.
Is that a blue pickle or a yellow pickle?
Blue.
A blue pickle. Thanks for telling me that.
So if we ever get stuck or it's a harder situation than we thought, well, then we just work our way back up using those warm-up and talking skills.
And that's the great thing about this. You just start out with the most basic stuff and slowly work up to the harder stuff. There's always something to fall back on.
Using these simple techniques of warming up and encouraging talking can have an incredible impact on kids like Lee with anxiety around speaking. While many children will require the assistance of a qualified expert, like a registered psychologist with experience treating selective mutism and can only be diagnosed by a professional, these activities can be used to build your child's confidence and reverse the not speaking cycle, even if they exhibit only mild symptoms. Every child is different, so they will each respond to these techniques in their own way. You should feel free to adapt the pace and the intensity to what suits your child best. And remember, educating other people in your child's life about the do's and don'ts of selective mutism is hugely important. So feel free to share this video with family members, friends, teachers, anyone who sees your child on a regular basis, so they too can feel confident in how best to interact with your child. And share in the experience of hearing your child's voice.
B is for pickle.
Thanks for telling me that.